Last week, the UK government published 4 policy papers regarding UK sustainability reporting requirements. Now, I covered 3 of them in the previous video, but it was getting a bit long and I needed a glass of wine or a break. So here's the 4th one. So this second video is on the sustainability disclosure requirements implementation. This is how we're going to do it. So the first paper in the previous video was the framework for developing the UK sustainability reporting standards. So what exactly is required to be reported, and then this video is about the sustainability disclosure requirements implementation. So how and when do we actually need to report? So this is the actual disclosure requirement. This is the actual document itself. I'll go through the key points. So what it tells you at the start, I've also done my own notes because it's taken me a few hours to go through all this. Actually probably easier to read from here to start with. So the introduction is regarding how we've come about these disclosures. So we have the 2023 Green Finance Strategy, that's actually here. And this was published a while ago now, back in 2023, and it was all about mobilising green investment and transforming green finance for a greener future. So on the back of that, we have this Sustainability Disclosure Requirements document, which is a wider programme and it involves the FCA as well, or the Financial Conduct Authority. So the Green Finance Strategy overall is the UK government's long-term strategy to ensure that investors and consumers can access information to make informed decisions for the allocation of capital per sustainability preferences. And then there's the Sustainability Disclosure Framework, I'm just going to call it SDR. That is to facilitate and streamline robust, decision-useful information between corporates, consumers, investors and capital markets. So that's actually how are we going to be doing all of this reporting. So at the moment, there's 5 components of the SDR, Sustainability Disclosure Standards, 5. So the first one is the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards that I've already touched on or went into detail in the last video. And as it explains here, this is a key point of reference. The government aims to make the UK endorsed ISSB standards available in Q1 2025. So that's not long away, that's just after the end of the year. The endorsement process will assess the standards and, subject to positive endorsement decision, will conclude with the publication of the UK endorsed standards that will be known as the UK Sustainability Reporting Standards. It also explains that for UK listed companies, the FCA might then introduce requirements, such as if it's a certain size or a certain industry, it might be required to report them. And then the UK government will then also decide for UK non-listed companies if they should be voluntary or mandatory. And also if there's any new requirements that they might be requiring for the UK government to, for example, for legislation. So there might be any exemptions from reporting. Another key date is the 1st of January 2026. So it explains here, any changes that may be introduced would be effective no earlier than accounting periods beginning on or after the 1st of January 2026. So not next year, but the accounting year after, which would mean reporting in 2027. But we haven't gone through all this yet, so it might even be later than that, TBC. But the earliest is the 1st of Jan 2026. So number 2 of the components is the transition plan disclosures. And in October 2023, the framework was published. However, then the ISSB IFRS S2, which is climate related disclosures, that has a bit of an overlap requiring the transition. So that means that the government might consult on if this can be strengthened, or it sounds like they might either leave it as S2 or strengthen the UK. The third component of the SDR is the investment labels, and this is regarding policy statement of the 28th of April 2023. This is a package of measures including investment labels, naming and marketing rules, an anti-greenwashing rule for FCA authorised firms, and disclosure rules. Now the anti-greenwashing rule comes into effect the 31st of May, which is soon, and other parts of the regime will be phased in. The fourth component of the SDR is the green taxonomy. And again, now this is obviously the taxonomy itself, so what elements specifically will be required to be reported. Now it's a complex and technical exercise, and the government continues to work at pace and it expects to consult in due course. And it says here, after the taxonomy has been finalised, the government will introduce a testing period for voluntary disclosures and use for at least 2 years before exploring mandating disclosures. So that gives another time frame regarding when this might be. So there will be some time yet, but I do also realise these things can come around rather quickly. Last but not least, then I've got one diagram to show you. There's the fifth component is regarding nature-related disclosures. And it's actually, the government has been following the ISSB consultation on agenda priorities. And the next one that they're mentioning in that is biodiversity, ecosystems and human capital. And so the government is just supporting the ISSB research. The last thing that I found quite helpful, actually, I'll make it smaller, is the actual timeline for this implementation. So it goes through the elements on the left and then the time period. So the Technical Advisory Committee are going to be meeting in Q2. Well, they're meeting monthly, but this is what they're going to provide. And then the UK government is going to consult, it looks like, in the first quarter of 2025 on the draft sustainability reporting standards. And subject to positive endorsement, they will then, this is Q2 2025, and the government will consult on disclosure requirements for UK companies that don't fall within the FCA's regulatory perimeter. So it has a diagram for how the FCA is supporting the process, transition plan, and the SDR and label investments, as well as the UK green taxonomy at the bottom, and as it shows you here, the launch of consultation.